Hello, Namaskar, my dear students. Today we are going to start with a new topic, and the topic is process of photosynthesis. In fact, I would like to tell here that the process of photosynthesis could be called the backbone of all the rest of the topics that we discuss under uh, botany. So, to start with, what is the process of photosynthesis? As all of you know, that all animals, including human beings, they depend on the plants for their food. But have you ever wondered from where the plants get the food? The green plants, in fact, have to make or rather synthesize the food they need, and all other organisms depend on them for their needs. Green plants carry out the process of photosynthesis. The word photosynthesis is derived from the Greek word photon meaning light and synthesis means putting together. It is the most important it is the most important anabolic process on earth by which the green plants, autotrophic organisms, they synthesize complex carbohydrates from simple substances like carbon dioxide and water with the help of light energy, and in this way they purify the atmosphere. Atmospheric air gets purified by consuming the carbon dioxide and evolving oxygen. In other words, carbon dioxide of the atmosphere is fixed into carbohydrates and light energy is converted into chemical energy. Thus, photosynthesis can be defined as the process of manufacturing of the organic food by the green plants by using inorganic substances such as carbon dioxide, water, chlorophyll and sunlight is called photosynthesis. The overall equation usually given to represent the photosynthesis is written here, that carbon dioxide and water, they react in presence of photosynthesis and in presence of sunlight, and the green coloring pigment of the plant called as the chlorophyll to produce organic compound, that is glucose, and oxygen is evolved as the atmospheric gas. 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water react to form 1 molecule of glucose, and 6 molecules of oxygen are evolved. So, my dear students, this simple equation is a resultant of a complex reactions which take place step by step, and in the same way all the steps of photosynthesis, they have been evolved, or the present day concept of the photosynthesis is the result of various efforts that were made in the history. So it would be interesting to learn about those simple experiments that led to the gradual development of our today's understanding of photosynthesis. So first of all, as you can see this figure, this is the representation of the experiment done by Joseph Priestley in the year 1770, who performed a series of experiments that revealed the essential role of air in growth of green plants. Priestley is a man who is known for the discovery of oxygen also. He observed what he did in this experiment and what were his observations. Let me summarize those. He observed that the candle burning in a closed space, a bell jar, soon gets extinguished. Similarly, a mouse, if it is placed along with that candle, it would soon suffocate in a closed space. He concluded that a burning candle or an animal that breathed the air but somehow damaged the air. In fact, what he said damaged the air was today's carbon dioxide produced. But when he placed a mint plant in the same bell jar. He found that the mouse stayed alive and the candle continued to burn. So this led this great scientist Priestley to hypothesize that the plant restore the air whatever breathing animals and burning candles remove. Now can you imagine how Priestley would have concluded the experiment using a candle and a plant? He would need to rekindle the candle to test whether it burns after a few days. So it could, at this time it seems to be very simple, but at that time a tedious experiment would have been performed by the great scientist Priestley to reach at the conclusion that the air that is taken by animals and the burning candle is immediately restored by a plant. So Priestley uh, set up this experiment. Now there are several other scientists who have contributed to reach at the modern concept of the photosynthesis, and let us talk about the earlier contributions in the photosynthesis by the various scientists. First of all, Jan Egan-Houses from the year 1730 to 1799. He showed that sunlight is essential to the uh, plant process that somehow purifies the air, fouled by the burning candle or the breathing. He thus confirmed the role of the sunlight. Egan-Houses, in an elegant experiment with an aquatic plant, showed that in bright sunlight small bubbles were formed around the green plants, while in dark they didn't. In this way, he identified these bubbles to be oxygen. Hence, he showed that it is only the green parts of the plant that could release the oxygen. Now, in 1854, another contribution was made by Julius von Sachs, who provided evidence for the production of organic compound glucose when the plant grows. Glucose is generally stored as starch. He later made several experiments and showed that the green sunlight in the plants, to which we today may call the chlorophyll as we know it today, he said that something green substance is located in the special bodies, those special bodies to which we today call the chloroplast. But at that time, because the chloroplast was not discovered, he said that the green substance is placed in some special bodies which are actually placed within the plant cell. In this way, he found that the green parts of the plants are the places where the glucose is made, and that the glucose is usually stored as a starch. In fact, a very big discovery which was a landmark to know how inorganic gets converted into organic. Now, another contribution was made by T.W. Engelmann from the years 1843 to 1909. What he did, he used a prism in his experiment. He split light into spectral components and then illuminated a green alga, Cladophora, placed in the suspension of aerobic bacteria. The bacteria was used to detect the sites of oxygen evolution. He observed that the bacteria accumulated mainly in the region of blue and red light of the visible spectrum. As dear students, you know the visible spectrum consists of 7 colors: violet, indigo, green, yellow, orange and red, and it is in this region that the photosynthesis takes place. But it was the contribution of this great scientist Engelmann who said that the regions of blue and red light are more concerned with this universal process of photosynthesis. It resembles roughly to the absorption spectra of the chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. Now, by the 19th century, the key features of plants' photosynthesis had known to man that the plants could use the light energy to make carbohydrates, it could use the carbon dioxide and water. Even the empirical formula representing the process of photosynthesis was totally understood, that carbon dioxide and water in presence of light and some green substance in the plant gives rise to organic compound, that is CO2 plus H2O gives CH2O plus O. Ultimately, the complex uh, reaction of the photosynthesis was discovered. Now we are in a position, due to the contribution of years of experiments of various scientists, that now we are clearly understand how does this great process takes place in the plants and is the sole source of energy of the entire universe. And it would not be wrong to say that sun is the ultimate source of energy, because sun gives the energy to perform photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is the source of energy for the rest of the universe. Now we are in a position, after discussing the history of the photosynthesis, the modern concept of the photosynthesis. So dear students, I shall be dealing the concept of photosynthesis under two headings. The first is the machinery of photosynthesis and second is the mechanism of photosynthesis. In machinery of photosynthesis, I would like to tell you what are the ingredients which make possible the process of photosynthesis. In mechanism, I will be discussing how those ingredients react with each other by various physico-chemical processes and bring about the process of photosynthesis. The process of photosynthesis, which is the transformation of photonic energy, light or the radiant energy, into chemical energy locked in the carbohydrate molecule by the green parts of the plant, that we shall be discussing under the mechanism of photosynthesis. And to start with, I would start with the machinery of the photosynthesis. So dear students, there are the four things that we shall be taking into consideration. First is the green coloring pigment chlorophyll, of course the sunlight, carbon dioxide and water. As you can see in this figure, it is represented that the green light which falls on the plants, carbon dioxide is taken from the atmosphere and chlorophyll is within the plants, water is taken from the roots and sugar and oxygen are evolved. So we shall discuss this machinery or the components which take part in the photosynthesis one by one. To start with, I would like to discuss where is the chlorophyll present and how does it take part in the process of photosynthesis. In today's time, we know that chloroplast is the part where the chlorophyll is located. Now, what is chloroplast? It is the site of photosynthesis. Chloro means green and plastodes meaning molded in some form. Chloroplasts are the green plastids that occur in the green parts of the plant. They are actual sites of photosynthesis. The maximum number of the chloroplasts occur in the leaf with over 500,000 per square millimeter. This is the maximum number which can occur, a chloroplast can occur in a per square millimeter of a leaf. They occur mostly in the chlorenchymatous cells, which is located in the mesophyll of the leaves and young stems. Each mesophyll cell, you have discussed the VS of the leaf in the chapter anatomy of the flowering plants, but once again I have represented here. First is the leaf, then is the enlarged, this is magnified view of the leaves wherein we can see microscopically mesophyll is represented here. Each mesophyll cell may contain as many as 300 chloroplasts in the periphery of the cytoplasm. Chloroplasts of the higher plants are usually discoid, ellipsoidal, biconvex, lens shaped. They are usually 4 to 10 μmicrons in diameter and 1 to 3 μmicrons in thickness. However, in algae, there are several variable shapes of the chloroplast which becomes their identifying feature. For example, spiral in Spirogyra, collar shaped in Eulothrix, star shaped in Zygnema, then cup shaped in Chlamydomonas, bell shaped in Chlorella, and reticulate in Odogonium. But for the higher plants, there is almost the shape is fixed as discoid, ellipsoidal, or biconvex. Now let me discuss the structure of the chloroplast. Each chloroplast of the higher plant is an organelle with an outer enveloping cover consisting of double membrane which acts as a selective barrier to the movement of the cellular metabolites into or out of the chloroplast. Chloroplast envelope encloses a liquid proteinaceous matrix called stroma. The whole liquidy medium of the stroma is hyaline, slightly electron dense, granular matrix contains all the necessary enzymes which are needed for the photosynthesis. It contains 70S ribosomes. The chloroplast DNA is called as plastidome. You must remember this term plastidome, and because of presence of the DNA, it becomes the semi-autonomous body. We shall be discussing what is this semi-autonomous body in the chapter of the biotechnology in your class 12th, but here you can remember that DNA is the part which gives it some sort of independence from the DNA of the nucleus, but it is dependent on that also. The stroma is the site of the dark reaction of the photosynthesis. The lamellar system within the stroma forms the flattened sac-like structures called as the thylakoids, as you can see in this figure. These thylakoids are stacked in some places, then this structure is called as the grana. The grana are interconnected by the lamellar stroma lamellae or the fret channels. The space within each thylakoid is loculus is connected to the space within every other thylakoid, forming the common thylakoid space. The major function of the thylakoid is to perform the photosynthetic light reaction. So in within the thylakoids, the light reaction, outside the thylakoid, that is within the stroma, there occurs the dark reaction. So this is about the chloroplast. The pigments and the other factors of light reaction are located within the thylakoid membranes. It is the place, these are the bags where actually the wonder pigment chlorophyll is present. The chlorophylls are the green photosynthetic pigments present in all the photosynthetic autotrophic organisms. There are about 10 types of the chlorophylls: chlorophyll A, B, C, D, E, bacteriochlorophyll A, B, C, D, bacterioviridin. Of these, only two types, chlorophyll A and B, are widely distributed in green algae and the higher plants. Now, next, this structure and large view of the chloroplast you can see in here it is clearly represented the stroma portion and the grana portion. The stroma portion where the dark reaction take place and the grana portion where the light reaction takes place. The thylakoid contains chlorophyll and this is how you can see it in detail. Now after the first machinery of the photosynthesis, we shall be discussing the most important factor, that is the light. Solar radiation, according to electromagnetic wave theory as proposed by Maxwell in 1860, can be described as the photons that travel in waves. The unit quantity of light energy in the quantum theory is described as the quantum, where the same electromagnetic field is called as the photon. Solar radiations can be divided on the basis of the wavelength. That is very important. Radiations of the shortest wavelength belonging to cosmic rays whereas that of the longest wavelength belong to the radio waves. Different radiations on the basis of increasing wavelength and decreasing energy frequency per quantum are listed like this: cosmic rays, gamma rays, X-rays, ultraviolet radiations, visible rays, infrared light, microwaves, and the radio waves. Solar radiations that hit the Earth's atmosphere, that comes about 42% of the total radiations. A major part of it is filtered through various constituents of the atmosphere. Now, we are concerned for the purpose of the photosynthesis with the visible spectrum. It is that portion of the solar radiation which our eyes can see. It consists of the radiations having a wavelength ranging from 380 nanometer to 760 nanometer. The biological system make most effective use of the visible radiations. Visible light can be further resolved into light of different colors like violet, which ranges from the, as you can see in this figure, the violet radiations which you ranges from 380 to 430 nanometer. Indigo 430 to 470 nanometer, blue 470 to 500 nanometer, green from 500 to 580, yellow from 580 to 600, and orange 600 to 650, and last red 650 to 760 nanometer. Now it is this region where the photosynthesis takes place, but the most important absorption spectra is the blue violet range, and we shall be discussing how does it takes place in the mechanism of the photosynthesis. And now the last next component or the machinery or the part of the machinery of the photosynthesis is the carbon dioxide. Now carbon dioxide, concentration of this gaseous carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is about 0.03% by volume. At this rate, atmosphere of our Earth contains about 2200 billion tons of carbon dioxide, which is sufficient, even more than sufficient, to support the process of photosynthesis for a few hundred years. This is statistics of the carbon dioxide. Even if no further amount is added, even then it is sufficient for the few hundred years to come. The carbon dioxide present in the oceans in the form of dissolved gas or carbonates is estimated to be about 11.2 into 10 raised to power 14 tons, which is more than 50 times the amount of carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere. As you can see in this figure, I have represented the atmospheric carbon dioxide and the oceanic carbon dioxide, plus the various other sources from which it is additionally entering the atmosphere, whether needed or not needed. Green plant fixes about 70 to 80 billion tons of carbon dioxide annually by the process of photosynthesis. Out of this, carbon dioxide fixed about 90% of the carbon dioxide total fixed is fixed by the water plants, that mainly in the oceans, and less than 10% is fixed by the terrestrial plants. Interestingly, only 0.2% of the total solar energy falling on the earth is utilized for the photosynthetic purposes. Yet this amount of trapped energy is just sufficient to meet the entire food requirement of all the living organisms on earth. Additionally, carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere as the fossil fuels are burnt, as the plants are eaten by animals, by the breathing of the living organisms, and so on, which increases the carbon dioxide and may become the source of the atmospheric pollution. That is the separate topic to be discussed. The next is the ingredient needed for the process of photosynthesis is the water. Our earth contains more than 70% water, and it is made available to the plants by various sources. It could be oceans, rivers, ponds, lakes, streams. These are the natural sources. Apart from these natural sources, this water could be made available to the fields by the irrigation. Moreover, there are number of fields and the farmers who are dependent on the rainwater and several other sources of water by which it is made available to the plants. But mostly the plants absorb the water through the roots. Ultimately, it reaches the plants. So that's all for all the ingredients or the machinery of the photosynthesis. I would stop here today, and in the next chapter we shall be discussing the mechanism of the photosynthesis. So that's all. Thank you very much.